Okay, now we're going to talk about augmented intervals. An augmented interval is created by increasing a perfect interval or a major interval by a half step. Okay? So let's look at some examples. Here we have a major third, which is an E flat to a G. So we can count on our piano. E flat is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. 4 half steps, so we're going to write a 4. Then we've got an augmented third, so the difference is that the E flat is still there and the G becomes a G sharp, okay? So let's look. If we've got an E flat to a G sharp, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 half steps. So see how we have one more half step? So we add 1 and it equals 5. Let's look at a bass clef example. We've got a perfect fifth, C to G. C to G, as we know, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half steps. So we've got 7 half steps. To augment this fifth, or to make it an augmented fifth, we're going to change the G to a G sharp. So the G becomes a G sharp. And let's count the half steps. So starting on C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 half steps. Okay, so we've got 8 half steps. And again, all we do is add a half step or increase the interval by a half step. Okay, let's look at some of these augmented intervals. For an augmented 1, you'll see that it kind of looks very, very similar to an interval, or it sounds similar to an interval we've had in the past, which is a major second. The only difference is it's written with both notes on the C line. So from C to C sharp is 1 half step, C, C sharp. Okay, so we're going to leave it like that. And remember, when we're working with these intervals, we always want to be thinking in half steps because it really helps to simplify things. So we've got 1 half step for the augmented 1. For the augmented 2, we've got 1.5 whole steps or 3 half steps. So we've got C, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to D sharp. So we've got 3 half steps. We'll just put a 1 there for consistency. An augmented 3. So we've got a C and an E sharp. So let's go C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, E sharp. And remember, we are going to call that E sharp and not an F, even though they both make the same sound. Okay? We've got an augmented fourth, which is 3 whole steps or 6 half steps. So that one's pretty easy. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. An augmented fourth is also known as a tritone. Okay? And the reason we call it a tritone is because the augmented fourth interval splits the octave. Okay? It splits the octave in half, and that's the musical name that we've given it, a tritone. Okay? An augmented fifth, the example we have here is a C to a G sharp, which is 4 whole steps or 8 half steps. Okay, so we've got C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we end on G sharp. Augmented sixth is going to be 5 whole steps. We've got a C to an A sharp in this example. A sharp is another name for B flat, but we are going to call it an A sharp. C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 half steps or 5 whole steps. And then finally we have an augmented 7. Well, not finally, we've got 2 more. We've got an augmented 7, which is 6 whole steps. So that would be 12 half steps. And then an augmented 8, which is 6.5 whole steps or 13 half steps. And the interesting part about an augmented 8 is that it actually exceeds the interval of an octave, because an octave is 12 half steps. But with an augmented 8, we have an interval that is 13 steps above the bottom note. So that's something interesting to consider. Let's do some of these first examples here, okay? So perfect fifth, as we've done in previous lessons, I'd like you to write the half steps below the notes, okay? Or the half steps below this part where you put the quality and a number. So we'll draw a line. Perfect fifth, okay? And notice that all of these intervals are going to be either perfect or augmented. They'll be perfect or augmented. Some of them might be major, but we'll look through this. Actually, no, they will be augmented, perfect, or major. So remember, no minor intervals on this worksheet. Okay, so a perfect fifth. Let's go ahead and put our little keyboard here. Let me move this up a little bit. Okay. There we go. Okay, so our keyboard is right here. For a perfect fifth, we have D flat to A flat, and let's count the half steps. So D flat is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 half steps, so we know it's a perfect fifth. An augmented fifth. Remember what we said about an augmented fifth having 8 half steps? Let's check it. So we got B flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 half steps between the B flat and the F sharp. Augmented fourth, if you look up here, it has 6 half steps. Let's make sure that's right. A to D sharp, A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 half steps. So we know that's accurate. I'm going to move the keyboard to the other side. We'll finish these last 3. Augmented 1, which is 1 half step. That's pretty easy. We can just look at our keyboard and go from G to G sharp, 1 half step. Augmented eighth, remember that's the weird one that has 13 half steps. So we know D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. D to D sharp is 13 half steps. And then a perfect fourth, which we know is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half steps. 5 half steps to a perfect fourth, okay? And again, you can use previous worksheets where we've given you the tools for identifying these perfect intervals. And let's go ahead and focus on the first line here. First line. Okay, and we'll put our keyboard up here. Let's see. All right, let's go ahead and put it over here. Okay, first line. Let's look at this A to the E sharp. Now remember, an E sharp is one of those weird enharmonic tones that can also, that sounds as an F. But for our purposes, we're going to use an E sharp, okay? So we've got an A to an E sharp. Let's go on our little keyboard here. We're going to go A. That's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to go to the E sharp. See how it's written there, E sharp. So 8 half steps. Then, once we know how many half steps we are apart, we can look up here and see that it's an augmented fifth. See the 8 half steps means an augmented fifth. So let's write AUG 5. Okay, remember AUG symbolizes augmented intervals. Okay, let's look at our next one. We've got an A and a D. So let's count the half steps. A is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 half steps. Okay, do we see 5 half steps up here? Well, we do. But in this case, because it's not written chromatically, it's actually going to be a perfect fourth. It's a perfect fourth. So this will be a perfect fourth. Remember, if you count the half steps and it looks like it could be an augmented third, remember to count the quality first, okay? So because this note is 1, 2, 3 lines away, because this one's on a space and this one's on a line, remember that that is a perfect fourth. So you're going to want to identify that visually as well, okay? Now, if this happened to be a, well, we won't get into that right now.
Yeah, you know it's showing up there, right?
Okay. Let's go ahead and work with our next one. It is an A to a C sharp. A to a C sharp. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. 4 half steps. And we have to indicate if it's augmented perfect or major. Augmented perfect or major. So, do we see 4 half steps on here? No, we don't. Remember that from previous worksheets, if it's 4 half steps away, it will be a major third. Okay. So use what you've learned previously to identify these. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to our next one. we've got an E flat to an F sharp. E flat to an F sharp.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
How was your lesson yesterday?
Um,
Were you guys working on a
let's
solo
see.
or SD?
E flat to an F sharp. So we're gonna go on our little keyboard here. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 half steps away. There we go. So if we see that, we can safely assume that's an augmented second because it's 3 half steps. Okay. And again, we're going to write the quality first, then the number. Next one, we've got a G to a G sharp. G to a G sharp. And let's look at our keyboard. Starting on G, which is 0. G sharp 1. So it's 1 half step away. Because they're on the same line, we're going to have an augmented 1. Augmented 1. Our final one on the first line is a D flat to a C sharp. D flat to a C sharp. So let's look on our keyboard. D flat, we're starting at 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up to the F sharp, 5 half steps. Okay. Because it's written at an interval of a third, we will call it an augmented third. Even though, if we were to play this on the piano, it would sound as a perfect fourth. So remember, notation is very important as far as identifying these intervals. For instance, if this F sharp were to be written as a G flat, we would have to call it a perfect fourth because the way it's notated means it's a perfect fourth. But since it's an F sharp, we're going to call it an augmented third, even though it would sound the same as a perfect fourth. Okay. Let's look at the second line, and I'll let you do the rest on your own. Zoom out a little bit. Alright, second line. And we'll go ahead and focus it. And put our keyboard over here. Okay, second line. Let's do number 1, or the first one on the second line. We've got a C going up to a B, so let's go ahead and count the half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 half steps. Okay? Do we see 11 half steps up here? I don't see it. And remember, we're only dealing with augmented, perfect, or major intervals. So, what interval has 11 half steps? The answer to that can be found in your worksheets, but I'll go ahead and give it to you here. It is going to be a major a major 7. Major 7. So we're going to go ahead and write that. Our next interval is an F to an A sharp. Remember, we are now in bass clef, so that's an F to an A sharp. So let's count up on the scale. F is 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A sharp. 5 half steps. Now, it's written as a third, so we know it's a 3. And if we look up at our key, we know that it's an augmented third. Remember, this is one of those funky intervals where it's written as an augmented third, but it will sound as a perfect fourth. Okay, let's look at our next one. It's a D to a B sharp. A D to a B sharp. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and count on our piano. D is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 half steps. Okay, and because it's written as a sixth, we can safely assume that it is an augmented sixth. Okay. Now, if this were written D to C, for instance, it would have to be a seventh because D is 7 notes away from C, so it would be D 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it would end up being a minor 7. But because it's written like this, it's an augmented sixth. Okay. Next we've got an E to a G sharp. E to a G sharp. So let's look at our keyboard. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 half steps away. Okay. Do we see anything up here that's 4 half steps away? I don't see anything myself. So we have to assume that it's a major interval, and the interval that it is, it's a major third. Okay, and if you go back to your sheets, you can definitely see that we outline the half steps of major intervals as well. So if it doesn't fit into a particular box, just keep on checking. Okay, here's another one. It's a G sharp to a G, G sharp to a G, excuse me, it's a G flat to a G. And we'll go ahead, find our G flat on the staff, and go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 half steps. Now there's only one interval that has 13 half steps, and that's our augmented eighth. So we know that it's an augmented eighth. Okay, and our last one on this line. Well, you know, looks like I just made a mistake, and the eraser kind of stinks. So let's do this one again. It will also be an augmented eighth, but the notes here are different because I forgot we were in bass clef. It's a B flat to a B. So let's just do this really quickly so that you know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So B flat to a B. And we are in bass clef. Okay. A flat to E is our last one that we'll do today. And then I'll have you complete lines 3 and 4 on your own. A flat to E. So let's find A flat right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 half steps. 8 half steps. So we look on our little key. Augmented fifth is the one that has 8 half steps. So it really is very easy. Takes a little bit of time to count half steps, but I'm confident that if you take the time to count and really think about what the interval could be, especially if it's not on this group of 8 up here, that you'll be very successful on this assignment. Okay, so go ahead and do lines 3 and 4 on your own, and we will check it in class. Thank you.